I've done quite a few One Piece reviews on this channel already, and talked about how much I love the show and manga. I don't, however, think I've ever said who my favorite One Piece character is, which is a good thing, because it gives me a segue for this video. Today, we'll be looking at the variable action hero Roronoa Zoro past blue figure. Zoro is my favorite character on the show and already has a very solid variable action heroes figure. However, it was based on his post-time skip design, and this new one is based on the pre-time skip design, which is one of the best designs in all of One Piece. Unlike the previously released past blue Luffy figure, this Zoro is a welcome addition, even if it is a character we've already gotten. Right out of the box, Zoro looks amazing. The look of this figure is exactly what I wanted. It's extremely faithful to the show, and doesn't have to compromise on the articulation. One minor nitpick I do have is the likeness. It might just be this default face, but it doesn't look exactly like Zoro. But everything else on the head is great. The hair is detailed perfectly with just the right amount of shading, and the earring looks good despite its small size. Since Zoro is only wearing a simple white shirt, there's not a whole lot of detailing to get wrong here, so they did a very good job. Sometimes they really botch the pure white clothes, like on Rob Lucci, where they decided to shade it blue for some reason. The shading here is subtle, but still noticeable, but not so noticeable that it looks cartoony. On his left arm, he has his black bandana, but we'll come back to this later. His haramaki looks good and isn't as loose as I was expecting it to be. Just like his shirt, there isn't a whole lot of detailing needed on his pants or boots, but they still manage to look good, if not a bit boring. However, that's more of a fault of the original design and not the figure. The first accessory we're going to talk about is his sheath, carrying all three of his swords. Since he has different swords pre- and post-time skip, this sheath appears different to the one included with the original Zoro figure. This fits on very tightly, so these guys aren't going anywhere when on the figure. You can very easily remove the hilts from each sheath. I tried recreating this pose from on the box, but it doesn't quite work as advertised, as the articulation won't allow it. This is the best I could do, but when you look closely, the hilt isn't actually in the sheath, which is a real bummer. Zoro can obviously wield his swords using the included hands, and this really completes the look of the figure, as I cannot imagine posing Zoro without at least one of his swords in hand. Now, you might be asking yourself, gee willikers, what do we do with the third sword? Well, you put it in his mouth, obviously. The first alternate face we'll be looking at is the open mouth face that allows you to place his Wado Ichimonji right in his mouth. Again, this is one of these features that really completes the look of the figure. He also comes with an identical face that doesn't allow for the sword to be placed in it, in case you want to use this face normally. Going back to his bandana, we can slide it off his arm, and use this alternate headpiece to replicate this look. Kinda like both Luffy figures, his bandana looks a little bit too big for his head, but it's not nearly as bad or distracting as Luffy's hat. I have had a ton of fun trying to recreate poses from the show, or from promotional artwork. The articulation may have limited the pose from the box, but sure doesn't hinder much else. Next up is this very angry looking face. Kinda like the default face, this isn't the most accurate to how Zoro looks, but at least it's very expressive. Zoro comes with this laughing expression, which looks very nice. However, he's not a character that laughs very often, so this face is a bit odd. I would have preferred a sleeping face, as that's something Zoro actually does quite frequently. Also, he has two pairs of open hands. Last but certainly not least is this very angry, smiling face. This one is probably my favorite as it feels in character for Zoro and is very expressive. For a size comparison, here's the past blue Luffy, and as you can see, he's much taller, which is accurate. And here's the pre-time skip Zoro, and unlike the past blue Luffy, the new figure isn't taller than the old one. So, that's it for past blue Zoro. A figure I was very excited for that most certainly did not let me down. This is a great looking figure that has endless posing possibilities that functions very well without the articulation getting in the way. As of right now, this is right up there with Phoenix Wright as a possible figure of the year.